Welcome everyone to this week's track guide at, well, the Nurburgring Nordschleife. And yeah, you guys asked for it, and I hope I deliver. I hope you guys enjoyed this. A lot of time went into this, a lot of practice to make sure I can show you at least a semi-decent lap. Saying that, we did get one off track, which was quite early on. Didn't affect us too much, and it's one of those little things where I was maybe a tyre width too far over. So I will obviously point that out to you guys. We lost maybe about 2/10 on it as well. So it's one of them things that I'll mention it, tell you to hold back a little bit, stay on track, and it will kind of help as well, because the exits on some of these corners are so important. Cannot stress that enough. If you are a few seconds down on my lap time, look at corner exit. These straights, or let's not call them straights, let's call them full throttle zones, are 30-40 seconds long, and if you're coming out that corner 5-10 mile an hour slower, that's going to cost you so much down the straight. One of the corners that we come out of, again, I will mention it, I mucked up the exit, went a bit wide, got riding on the exit curb, and by the end of the full throttle zone, I was 8/10 down just on that sort of one sector. It was absolutely insane. Real eye-opener to focus on exits here. Another thing is, it is a very hilly track. It's up and down, crests, dips, hidden dips, camber in the corners. So be mindful of that. If you are spinning out a lot, have a look at where you're spinning out on the replay. It could be because the car's coming over a crest and you're slightly too much throttle, not enough throttle, braking over it. Really upsets the Skippy, and once that rear end goes round over a crest, there is only one way you're heading, and it's in one of those barriers on the left of the screen. Otherwise, let's get into this, because it's going to be a long video. Almost forgot. Let me show you the weather, just so you guys know. If you're getting a bit grippier, then it could be track temperature. If you're getting more straight line speed and more power, it could be a cooler track. Lap time we're going to show you is a 8:10.170, and as always, the setup will be in the description below. So with that out of the way, let's get on with it. Right, the start finish line is quite early on here to start the lap. Really short start finish compared to the whole track, which is absolutely fair enough. Turn 1, red barrier on the right hand side. We're using that as a marker all the way down in the first gear. There's a nice little dip just about now that turns the car really well. We use a bit of exit curb to straighten it up, and now we're in one of our first full throttle zones, and this is going to give me a chance to basically try and describe how I'm going to break this down. They're kilometer boards everywhere. You can see there just one passing, so that means we've done 1 kilometer, we're on our 2nd kilometer. So that's how I'm going to break down this video, is by kilometer and what timestamp that'll be. Coming down the hill now, we're just minimizing steering, slide and things like that, and as you see, the graffiti ends. This will be the braking zone for the next point. We're down into 4th, roll the car in. As soon as we get straight again, down to 3rd, hug the line, car oversteers ever so slightly. It's quite manageable, so not too bad, and we're back on the power straight away. Bring it kind of mid to right hand side, and we're turning in. Nice dip on the apex as well. Completely mount the curb. It's quite low, these two here, so we can use them to advantage. Still in 3rd gear. Be careful with the exit curb, it's quite slippery, stay away from it, there's a barrier just there. And now we're into quite an important section, and this is where I get the off track. So I nick a bit of curb here, and it pushes me just a smidge too wide. That was it. Bottomed out the car, got a terrible exit. So take less speed into there, take less curb, because I think it's the curve that pushed me wide, and we'll get another good exit straight down here. Gives me a chance as well to explain that this replay probably looks a little bit faster than my other ones. I'm running this at half speed instead of quarter speed. Some of the full throttle zones just helps the video move on a little bit smoother. It doesn't mean I'm waffling as much. Talking about waffling, there is a lovely barrier on the left hand side here, and that is our turning point. Full throttle, we can take it flat. Bit twitchy with cold tyres, so be careful first lap. There's a lovely dip on the the apex, that really helps turn the car. Avoid these curves, particularly at this speed in the Skippy. They don't like it at all. This curve coming up is one of the biggest, and I do actually ride it to show you how it unsettles the car. Watch the overhead camera. It really upsets the Skippy. Doesn't like it at all. So all we're doing on these full throttle zones is minimizing the scrub on the tyres, particularly the front, and trying to straight line the track as much as possible. The straight line speed here will be great for overtaking. And now we're coming to one of the tricky corners on the track. There are many. 5 kilometer board on the right hand side, turning point, slight lift, or if you're really brave, full throttle. The car will oversteer over the crest. It's about managing that the best you can. As this tarmac changes into a different surface, just after that we're braking. Straight line it again down into second gear. I do brake quite early for this corner because I want to make the corner. We're coming down there quite fast, potentially cold tyres. Let's get it right rather than spearing into someone. So good exit down here. It's another huge full throttle section. And again, it's the same scenario. Miss the curbs, straight line it best we can, use the hill. Particularly at this point, the Skippy is pointing in a straight line. Use the engine, use the gravity to get as much speed as you can. This is going to be awkward for overtaking because everyone will be doing the same thing. Everyone will be slipstreaming. So that's definitely something to be mindful of. So through the compression, be careful of the curb. Don't want to nick too much of it. And we are looking for this board on the right hand side. I've made it a little bit darker, make it a little bit more obvious. That is our turning point. Half throttle, we can take the curb, we can avoid it, and we're straight into the brakes. Braking point for me is literally as the car is in a straight line and stops sliding. We're down to third for the first bit, and just as the graffiti, there's a gap here. We're braking and we're going all the way down into first gear. Sacrifice this first left-hander to maximize the second right-hander. We're up into second, full throttle. We nick a little bit of curb, pushes us slightly wide. My advice, avoid the curbs. Get better traction on the tarmac. As we pass the 7 kilometer line, we are on for another full throttle zone. So I've said it enough already. Minimize scrub on the tires, minimize steering angle, and try and maximize this straight line speed. There are 2 left-handers coming up. The first one you can completely ignore. The second one is a little bit tricky. This graffiti on the left is kind of a marker to start turning in. Slight lift on throttle, you can have a gentle dab on brakes, but be careful of oversteer. I don't want to run wide because there is no curb. Braking zone for this is a distance away from the curb, which is really awkward to judge. Down into third, get good apex turn if we avoid the curb. Avoid this one, it's massive. Really awkward braking zone coming up, and again we're using distance of the curb. Just as it's about to disappear from my center monitor, that's where we're on the brakes. Down into second, a nice late apex here gives us a brilliant exit. Don't hit the curbs again because if we run wide we bottom out, barrier just there. Another little full throttle zone here. This car made me nervous. I thought it was going to pull away, get him away, but he didn't. Brilliant. This corner, full throttle, slight lift to give us a good straight line on the second part. We did hit that curb, don't worry about it. Now, this is where I start braking, and to me, it's just a feeling. This, I believe, is miss, hit, miss. In the Skippy, I prefer miss, miss, miss. So we stay center track, try and maximize our speed around it. I don't want to get too far to the inside, get the curbs, big problem. Braking zone for this is this very conveniently parked shadow. Straight line again, down into second, bit of throttle just to give us a bit of power, and all the way down into first. Late apex here, the exit is far more important. Get on the power, get round it as soon as you can, get up the gears, get back up to speed. Again, be careful on exit, not a lot of runoff area. There is a slight curb, nothing major. Leave it on the left hand side of the track because the corner we just went through, this is its bigger brother. First kink, don't worry about it. Braking zone for me is anywhere between the end of the curb and the start of this off ramp. Brake all the way down third gear, trail brake all the way in. We use a bit of curve. I'm not really fond of it because it unsettles the car, but we still did get a quick lap time. The most favourite corner is brilliant. Slight dab of brake, don't come off the throttle. Get the Skippy into the corner. There's a lovely compression. Get brilliant rotation on apex, and it's full throttle all the way out. When you get that corner right, it is by far my most favourite. Not going to teach you how to suck eggs again. Another full throttle zone. Just be careful of people getting a good run out of there through this kink. They might be a little bit cheeky. Running around the outside is possible, but it really mucks up this corner here. Braking zone is the black board on the right hand side. Just as it passes our car and sort of off view. down into third, and this is a key area. Get into this part of the track. Late apex is really nicely cambered. You kind of get a slingshot out of it, and this is the corner where I ran wide and I lost 8/10 by the end of this. This is a huge full throttle zone, and it's uphill, which is a real pain in the rear end. This will be slipstream heaven again. People will be overtaking you. If there's a gaggle behind you, just stay on one side of the track, let them go. They're going to overtake you whether you can stop them or not. Again, this being a huge full throttle zone, minimize steering. You can see I'm moving across the track, trying to minimize that steering angle, minimize that scrub. I changed to fifth after the corner, no, before it. There's a little dip. I couldn't remember if it was before or after, and it's there where I changed to fifth. Keep it on the right hand side of the track, shortest line as possible, and this is where it's going to be doubly important to just let cars past you. If they're going to go, they're going to go. You're going to get another chance to overtake them. It's a long track. It's a really, really long track. 154 corners, I think it is. Absolutely nuts, this thing. So this corner coming up here is quite tricky because I changed down. You can see the speed is staying at 106. We're not accelerating or anything. This kink here, I changed down to fourth mid-corner. I use the clutch. If you don't have the clutch, lift off, change down just to hit the apex. We're down to 100 miles an hour now, and in fifth, I was actually down to 97, 98. It's 1 or 2 mile an hour, but because these full throttle zones are so huge, it makes up a hell of a lot of time. So I keep it in fourth. The poor old Skippy is revving its little heart out, and I don't care. It's not my engine. So we haven't even got yet up to our 106 before we enter this corner. Braking zone is just as the car come over the crest, and we can get a straight line to the left-hand side of the circuit. Down to the second, quite a long corner. Hug the inside the best you can and start accelerating quite early. The track does tighten. It goes wide and then tighten on exit, so be very careful about running wide on the left-hand side. And now we're coming to the most cheeky of rascals. This is, of course, the carousel. The braking zone for me is this little kink in the curb. It just nips out a little bit. Brake. I stay in third, go to second. Much easier, much quicker, better rotation. Don't pop out of this carousel. You will be a one-way trip to the barrier. You can nip out a little bit early, as I do there. It's probably a little bit slower. Don't stay in it all to the end of the carousel, because technically you're turning left and then you should be turning right. So pop out of it, maybe 2 or 3 k lengths a bit earlier from the end. Again, full throttle zone, uphill, keep it in fourth, no point changing to fifth. Skippy is a bit power lackluster, let's say, around here on some of the hills, and it's you can real feel it. Full throttle, maybe a slight lift on turning just at the curb. Avoid the inside curb, real pain in the rear. You can take this with a slight merge on throttle, but be careful on exit again. As we come over the crest, slight dab of brake down into third. This is where corners start looking similar. If all else fails, take things easy. You'd rather stay on the track. So that one I could probably take in fourth, but I'd rather be safe, take it in third, get the acceleration out of it. This second right-hander, you can take full throttle. It's lovely and quite open on exit, and also we're turning left. We are smashing the curbs a little bit, and I do get a snap of oversteer, which is a little bit slower than what we want. That inside curb's really quite nice, and we're downhill. This looks like the corner that started all of it off, but this one's a tricky one. Definitely brake a bit more for this. It's over the crest on exit, and the grass is just there on the left. So be very careful. Back up into fourth, braking down to third again. We want to hug this left-hand line as much as we can. We can even nick some of the flat curb, because you might recognize this part of the track as we come down the right-hander. Try and miss the curve. We do catch it. Very careful with the off-track here. Stay on the red and white curbs. This is YouTube corner. YouTube channel got told off for making videos on this corner, which was pathetic. Missed the curb on the inside. We've got a lot of exit curb, but there is a gravel trap, so be warned for that one. Right, coming up to the what corner of 5 million, there's a line on the track. We're braking just before it, staying in third, avoiding the curb and getting a nice tight apex. The exit is a little cheeky so-and-so. and it nips out on you. So if you take too much speed into that, you're going to get an off track. Stay to the left hand side of the track. Trust the track will be there as you come over the apex. This is going to be a common occurrence now of this part of the track. Much more hilly in important zones where you need to worry about it. We stay in 4th gear over the dip, slight brake on turn in, and get a lovely turn on the apex again. It's slightly cambered. You want to stay mid-track, because this left-hander, you can take it full throttle, but if you're on the left-hand side, you're going to run wide and you're going to hit that barrier on the right. You can see there I was mid-track and I still got the curbing. Bear it to the left, keep on the curb, the track drops away from you, so you want to be straight wheels as the track drops away. Up into 5th now, we're on a lovely cheeky little section. Again, stay mid-track. This track here on the left does pop out. Just try and minimize the angle, minimize curb contacts, and this one you can take. It's lovely and flat for once. Keep the Skippy to the left-hand side of the track. We've got a fast right-hander coming up. Just as the graffiti starts on this right-hand side, we're braking down into 4th, roll it nicely in. We want to stay on exit on the right-hand side. We've got a fast left-hander, medium fast, down into 3rd. Nice, roll it in. Avoid the apex curb again. We can use the exit curb, as I do here, just to straighten the car up. Gives us a bit of help. Up into 4th, and now we're at the mini carousel. Down into 3rd. Take more speed in you think. Lovely camber, and you can pop out of it nice and early to try and maximize the speed coming out. And on to the most hated part of the track for me. Really hate these next 2-3 corners. Chain fence on the left hand side, that's where we're kind of braking and turning in. I missed the apex completely. I want to stay mid track because I'm still learning this bit, to be brutally honest. It's this section that I seem to get wrong. You need to stay full throttle, really get it pinned, because this is the longest straight in absolute history. I do need to be further to the right hand side to maximize even more speed down this straight. You will max out the Skippy top speed, I think 125 with slipstream. You'll be getting up to 130 again, and basically you sit here and have a cup of tea, have a drink, and let everyone slipstream past you again. So I thought I'd fast forward the straight. You guys know what to do now in a full throttle zone. So as we come under the bridge, we've got a left hand kink. Don't worry about it, ignore it, full throttle. Just be careful of other cars you might be overtaking, or you might be the overtakee. These left, right, don't worry about them at all. Just try and straight line them as best you can. Now, this little cheeky rascal, really awkward braking zone. There's a heart on the track, brake just before it. Try and bring the car over to the far left as you can. 2nd gear. The only curb that the Skippy likes is this one. Get really good rotation. I was actually shocked. Tried it on this one. Doesn't work. Pushes the car wide. Turning point for the last corner is this concrete stuff on the left hand side. Slight brake, trail brake on the way in. Missed the barrier. That's always advisable. And nice wide exit for once. And we are across the line just like that for an 8:10.170. A few mistakes in there, but ultimately I think it's quite a good lap time. There's definitely some time to be made up. I could probably get a 9, an 8-minute 9, something like that. Maybe even 8:08. I saw in a practice session earlier an 8:7, which is absolutely nuts, but it is a long track. As I say, the full speed one follows now, and hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you on the next one.